you have any reference material for those folks that don't want to go read the manual that can kind of give them a good overview of the minutia that goes on with the multimeters, kind of like a training curriculum thing?
Well, that's a loaded statement you got there, because they want to go somewhere and learn something, but not read the manual. So I would start with the manual, obviously. But really, basic AC and DC circuits are going to help the most. And I learned something the other day was a lot of people think, yeah, I know Ohm's law. I know what Ohm's law is. I times E equals P and stuff. I'm like, that's not basic AC and DC theory. When I'm talking about basic AC and DC theory, I'm talking about how do you calculate a parallel resistance.
Gotcha.
Now, when you start, looking into, that's what engineers call basic AC and DC. That's what your colleges call basic AC and DC theory. So when you start researching that, then if you come back to your manual, all of it's going to make sense.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. And for those who aren't familiar with our prior conversations, that was something I think both you and I hinted on or made very clear, is you have to have the fundamental grasp of the actual physics and theory in order to actually truly comprehend not only the test equipment, because test equipment has gotten complex enough now to where or complex enough in design and sophistication where it's taken away a lot of the need to know some of the basic theory stuff. And so if you actually truly understand it, then you're going to understand the system within the system and all the other things that kind of come back to, but it all harkens, back to a fundamental great understanding of the physics and the theory of AC and DC is really what it comes to.
I can't agree with that more. I mean, from a relay testing point of view, like RTS InnoServe, it's a software that's designed to make it so that way experienced relay testers can just crank out any relay, right? Well, what does it end up doing? It ends up making, I'm not trying to pick on anyone, I like RTS, but it has its places, and it ends up making people into button pushers.
Yep.
And then you've got a lot of people that can easily operate the software. All they have to know is just what buttons to click in what order, and then all of a sudden they run into a piece of test equipment that's operating wrong or something, and they're out in the field by themselves, and they've been operating RTS for years, and now they're completely stuck. They can't do anything. They failed or whatever, and so it sets people up for failure if you get to that point.
Agreed. It allows you to get lazy more than anything. You don't have to keep your brain sharp and fresh with everything, because the software really is that good. And I just wrapped up a conversation I think I mentioned with Adam over at A-Rent. But like, it is that good, RTS. And so somebody, if I'm looking at a candidate for a recruiting position, if they just say, hey, I'm fantastic with RTS InnoServe, that's great, because that just shows me you know how to push the buttons and get through all the tests, and it's become that easy. But what if InnoServe is not working? Now, do you still understand the fundamentals in order to kind of figure out what is actually going on down the line?
Yeah, I'll go one step further, right? If you can say, I'm a fine candidate with InnoServe, but if I give you an electromechanical, I say test it with this. If you can do that, you're good.
Okay? Right. You better lean. You're going to be leaning back to now. We're just in.
I'm going to give you a current source.
We'll give you a current source, and now you have to do the math to figure out what's going on to get your actual load. So if it's via injection testing, whatever it may be, and that's where you really need to have your fundamentals freaking locked on.
That's right.
Awesome, dude.